My name is Roxy Turner, and for 6 long years I lived inside what I now call the competence trap, the place where you're so good at your job that your company quietly decides you're too valuable to move anywhere else. I started at Westline Data Solutions in Austin when I was 24, a bright-eyed analyst who believed hard work mattered more than corporate politics. For the first year, I thought I was on track. My numbers were the best in the department, my clients loved me, and I was the person everyone called when a project caught fire at 4 p.m. But then promotion season came, and I watched them give my position to a guy who literally introduced himself during the interview as someone who doesn't read emails. That should have been a sign, but I brushed it off. One rejection didn't mean much, except it didn't stop at one. Over 6 years, 12 promotion cycles came and went. 12 times I was told some version of, "You're too essential in your current role," or "You're a natural leader, but leadership isn't ready for a structural shift," or my personal favorite, "We need you right where you are." Meanwhile, the people getting promoted were less experienced, less knowledgeable, less skilled, and in one case, someone who asked me to train him privately because he didn't understand Excel formulas. I was the backbone of the department, and they weaponized it against me. The longer I stayed excellent, the more permanently they chained me to my chair. It all came to a head the day they hired a 26-year-old external candidate into a role I was not only qualified for, I had literally built half the processes he was now expected to manage. My boss, Derek, called me in and said, "You're the reliable one. We can't risk losing you." That was the moment everything inside me just snapped. Not in anger, not in tears, just a cold, crystal clarity. They weren't rewarding me for being good. They were punishing me for it. The next morning, I walked into the office with a smile and did something that changed everything. I quietly began building something they couldn't control. For years, I had been the one person keeping Westline's data operations stable. I knew every vendor, every loophole, every integration flaw, every broken back-end Band-Aid that had been slapped on since 2014. I knew all the issues executives didn't want to admit existed. And I knew, deep down, that Westline had built their entire growth trajectory on systems that weren't designed to scale. So, during my lunch breaks, late nights, weekends, and early mornings, I began designing a platform from scratch. Something clean, something intuitive, something automated, something 1,000 times better than Westline's duct-taped structure. I spent 8 months building FlowForge Analytics LLC, a streamlined data-to-insight engine that basically eliminated half the manual workload my team struggled with. I created dashboards that updated in real time, automation pipelines that reduced errors by 95%, and vendor connectors that didn't break every 3 days. And I kept all of it far away from my work laptop. It was my baby, my weapon, my revenge. When everything was ready, I started quietly talking to the same clients Westline had taken for granted, people I had personally saved dozens of times. One by one, they told me the same thing. "If you ever start something of your own, call us." And so I did. 6 months later, I filed the paperwork for FlowForge Analytics LLC, and 2 weeks after that, I resigned. Derek called me into his office, confused. "We were counting on you," he said, forehead wrinkled like he had just realized fire was in fact hot. I told him, "Exactly, and that's why I'm leaving." Word traveled fast. The leadership team called a meeting, suddenly telling me they might have a new opportunity for me, possibly even senior level, maybe even assistant VP sometime next year. I smiled, thanked them politely, and walked out the door. They didn't know what I had already built. They didn't know who I had already contacted. They didn't know what was coming. 3 months later, Westline Data Solutions lost its first major client to FlowForge, then another, then another, then another. The system I built solved problems Westline didn't even know how to diagnose. Within 9 months, 5 of the company's biggest enterprise clients had migrated to me. Then, something crazy happened. The new hires they kept promoting over me, they reached out asking if I was hiring. One even apologized, saying he knew I deserved the position he got. I hired him. Not out of pity, out of strategy. When the fiscal year review leaked, Westline's board discovered that the department Derek insisted on keeping stable had lost 38% of its revenue. Rumor says that meeting wasn't pretty. A year after my resignation, Derek was transitioned out. The director who approved all those undeserved promotions was fired. 2 of the VPs stepped down. Westline tried to rebuild, but it was too late. FlowForge wasn't just a better system, it was the future they refused to invest in. Today, FlowForge Analytics employs 27 people. I make more in a quarter than I used to make in a year. And the best part? My company rewards excellence instead of imprisoning people with it. My revenge wasn't destroy Westline. It was building something they could never own, never limit, never control. They passed me over 12 times. Now they're watching me rise, 12 floors higher than they ever let me climb.